So now we're over here at our CNC Punch with the exact same part you just saw over on our press brake. Now what we do is basically punch all these holes in here before we would ever bend something, okay? Because it's going to be a lot harder for us to put these holes in after the fact. So what you're going to see here, all the different hole patterns, we can punch just a regular hole, we can punch a straight piece, we can punch whatever we want here. But basically the machine that we have is one of the leading edge machines out there. It has an 8-tool turret CNC head, so basically we can put 8 different tools in there, so we're not wasting time changing from one tool to another. So he's getting that positioned in there now, and he's going to start punching those pieces out. So these fingers that you see right now are grabbing down on that part, and that will be what moves all the different pieces in the rotation and make sure it locates the part in the proper sequence. This sequence here is just a regular round hole, but they're very precise. These holes will actually mount up with other connecting machine pieces to provide the final unit. And we're going to get a chance here in just a second to see that final unit. So what you're seeing now are some of the other components that we would make on a machine like this. You can see we can even punch square tubing like this. Basically, these are legs for a machine that I'm going to show you here in just a second. This is a powder-coated piece, so this is actually a completed piece. But here's some of the raw pieces that we could do. You know, you can see very, very custom punches. Whatever pattern needs to be put in there, we basically can put in there, and then it'll go into the bending operation, like I said. Now these components here are for one of the premier case sealers in all the world. This thing here is absolutely amazing. Outpaces its competition by almost double its speed rate, and the error rate on this is nearly 0. This particular unit right here is actually for the food service industry. What they'll do is they'll pack up frozen foods and things like that, and they'll basically pass this box through, and it seals it perfectly centered every single time. This company's been around for a long time, and right now they're actually getting very, very, very aggressive with taking on big companies such as 3M in the case sealer business, and I think with Ash Tec on their side, they should be able to accomplish that. Right now we're in one of our welding cells. Now you're going to have the opportunity today to see 3 or 4 different welding cells, all of which are very cool amusement rides. Now if everyone remembers from the beginning of the show, we were shooting baskets into the little basketball game, and I actually missed. Yeah, I remember that too, but this is basically where it all starts with that unit. These are the frames that would go on it. Here's the top cages, here's the side cages. Basically everything you need to do here is to put together a small basketball game, and what they'll do here is test fit everything before it goes into powder coating. Now what we're going to move on to is actually this little basketball game's bigger brother. Wait till you see the size of this thing. This here is called the Nothin But Net. And I think the reason they call it Nothin But Net is because we don't put baskets on it when it's here at the factory, which makes it a lot easier for me to actually make my imaginary baskets, which maybe I'll do in a minute. But you'll see here the size and scope of this game is just massive. This again is actually, believe it or not, when I said skee ball was a company that most people associate with the slide game where you roll the ball up, believe it or not, this is a skee ball game. At this massive size. They would sell these games to different places like Dave & Buster's, ESPN Zone, and it becomes really the marquee piece in the place. I mean, this is basically, there's a line. We went down to Dave & Buster's a few weeks ago. There's a line for this particular unit because it's so much fun. And like I said, without a net on it, while it's here at the factory, it's a lot easier for me to make hoops. And he scores! And right now I'm in a cell for welding roller coaster chassis. So what we'll do in this department is basically, you saw some of the pieces getting cut on our plasma table. You saw some of the holes being punched out on our punch table. So you saw a lot of the operations that basically lead up to this part. What you didn't see yet is our machining operation. The fact that we actually have the machining operation in-house is what makes us so competitive and so good at what we do. And we're going to see that in a minute. But what we'll do here is basically lay everything out on the table and get it ready to go into a fixture. And the way that we're actually able to achieve such great quality on our roller coasters is by taking the time up front to figure out how to fixture these things to make sure that every single time we repeat the exact same operation. So what you're going to see here is basically a tacking operation. You can see there's only a one tack weld here. By the time this is all said and done, there's going to be a full bead along this. And believe it or not, we bring in completely outside inspectors. Don Lynn from Lynn Enterprises is probably one of the best in the entire world at inspecting roller coaster cars and amusement rides. So he'll come in and inspect our welds. In fact, one of the first times I met Don, we were looking at our welds on our unit, and he said, "Oh, you guys have a robotic welder." I said, "No, actually, we don't." He said, "Well, these welds are robotically welded." And I said, "No, we weld those in-house." And he said, "No, there's no way." He was at Hershey Park, came all the way up here just to check out our welds and certify that, yes, indeed, we're welding them by hand, and we're achieving the same quality as a welder, as a robotic welder might be able to do. Whenever possible, what we'll actually do is use components. Now, this is a ratty-tatty sideboard for a roller coaster, but what we'll do is we'll actually use this to make sure the holes line up perfectly well. This is a teak wood, and it's not very forgiving. So whenever we have the opportunity, we want to make sure that we're using a component that will match up with the coaster car to do our quality inspections here in-house. Now, we certainly use a lot of high quality inspection devices as well. We record all these things to make sure that everything is staying in quality check. But really for us, you know, it's more about the passion, okay? And we try and talk to our employees on a very personal level when we're talking about quality. I mean, we're building a roller coaster right now. So, you know, what we always try and drive through to them is the fact that somebody's life could be in your hands right now. If you miss a weld, you let a part slip through, you're going to have an issue down the road that could put somebody's life in jeopardy. Now, the way that these coasters are built, there's really very, very, very few things that could ever go wrong on something like this, and we make extra sure that that's the case. All right, right now we're actually at the rolling operation. This is going to be the work cell for the gyroscope that I started out rotating around in at the beginning of the show. What he's doing here is basically bending 2.5-inch Schedule 80 pipe. And he can do this in 3 passes. The old machine that we basically had took maybe 30 passes. This thing can bang this out in 1 pass. So like I said, this is 2.5-inch. Our total capability on this machine is actually 5.5 inches. So which comes in very handy when you're doing a lot of the park work and a lot of the different things that we would do at an amusement park. But you can see here the different bend that this is putting in. So he's going to rock this back and forth probably about 3 times to get the desired ring that you're going to see over here on the floor. This is basically what this would actually turn into right here. So each of these rings are precision rolled. Now, you're not going to get it exactly right every single time. So as you're going to see here shortly, we custom make every single one of these. The people that we have here have to be craftsmen. Okay, we're not machinists, we're not welders, we're ride builders, we're craftsmen, we're artists. You know, when we're putting these things together, there's very, very unique things that have to go into every single ride, especially with something like this. That's very difficult to predict exactly how that's going to roll up there.